Hi everyone, it's Norman Koshnick here. On Eyes on Cricket with Norman Koshnick. We're very fortunate to have a number of people here today. We've got Jabashis, who's now signed on. I'm not sure what's going on. And we've got obviously we've got the likes of Adam Holly. I've got my computer talking at the same time. Okay, right. All right, so I'm going to get off this. Hang on, I'm going to change my screen, otherwise we'll have an issue. It's talking to myself. All right, I'm off. Okay, guys. So I've got Adam Hollyoak here all the way from sunny Gold Coast, Queensland. We've got Devashis Sen from not so sunny looking Kolkata in India, and Chris Vernon from a gloomy looking Kent, very gloomy looking Kent.
We had about 10 centimeters of snow last night, so if I opened the curtains, you wouldn't. It would look like a sight screen. So
look like a size screen. Oh my god! And we've got the very good looking Norman Koshnick. Sorry, I mean very good looking Aparna Saini as well. There from Sydney. She's you can hear us loud and clear.
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can certainly hear you. That's very good. We were meant to get. I'm just going to tell you about some fallouts. Alan Mullally's coming tomorrow, which is fact. Poor Barry Knight was excited to come on, but he's had a short circuit in his house in Barrel, and he's panicking, and he's lost his Wi-Fi, and he's flapping around, so he's going to be on tomorrow night. Jeff spent most of the day in the garden, and he wasn't very keen on coming. I did drag him on for a few minutes. I've set up. Jeff Thompson now has his own YouTube channel. We should give a round of applause. After 50, 60 years, he has his own YouTube channel, and he'll be able to do his own stuff. So, all right, guys, how are we all?
Excellent. Much happier than the other day, mate. Well, last time I left, you were all chirpy and saying how it was going to be 5-0 in a 4-match series, and it's quite interesting. I just came on just for no other reason than just to see the expression on your face and just to see you crawling back into your hole, mate. So,
is that right?
I'm not even on here to add anything. I'm just on here to right.
Kick back
to abuse. Is that right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. You got it.
On the Gold Coast, you can get away with that. But if you're in Sydney, we'd have you up on some sort of slanderous charge or something by now, for sure.
You royalty down there? Surely not.
All right, now, guys, the state of play today. I would argue that India certainly have taken England back a peg or two after the rampaging first 2-3 days. Today was more of a day where I think India maybe have drawn England back a bit, reined them back a little bit. What's your thoughts?
In what respect do you think that India won the day or reined England in? They didn't avoid the follow-on. England batted again, scored at 5 and over to set India a world record target and have them a wicket down at the close. In what way did India have a good day?
Well, after being slammed by your comments just now, the reality is England scored 178. Now, it wasn't overly impressive, let's be honest. And certainly Ashwin took 6 wickets and bowled particularly well, I thought. The likes of Leach have certainly come on at the end there and taken a wicket of Rohit Sharma. Let's not forget the 4th test at the Gabba, when very similar situation. It was probably less runs, but how many runs did India need on the last day of that test to win? 320 something, 325, I think it was.
I think 300 and plus. Yeah, 325 to 375, something like that.
Yeah, so 325, and India need 370 odd this time, don't they?
381. 381.
I tell you what, that's not a hell of a lot different between the 2 days. Anyway,
India would much rather be facing the Australian bowling attack at the Gabba, chasing that score, than an England attack on that wicket. But slow turning, deteriorating wicket against a wicket with a bit of pace and bounce. At least you can bat and play shots on it. If you're going to have to force the game, at least you can bat on it and play your shots. I think it's comparing chalk and cheese, I think, in regards to chasing a score down.
All right, we'll let the comment.
I was just speaking with Monty. as Monty Pennister. He said India can chase anything, with if it's under 400. That's his thoughts as well, and I would 100% agree with that. India can chase anything under 400 very easily, and they've done that at the last test at Gaba in Australia when they don't even have the full batting lineup. So I think it's quite possible.
All right. I'm gonna love this. We've got yin and yang going on here. Someone's got some music going on. Vasis, put yours on. Vasis, put your on mute. Vasis.
Right. Yeah, I reckon England picking Rohit Sharma towards the end was a huge breakthrough, because he is someone who the Indians would have banked on, because playing in home conditions and the stroke player he is. I think the dismissal of Rohit Sharma towards the end has done England a world of good, and obviously the key for India to do well will be Virat Kohli and Rishabh Pant. If they are anywhere, they are going to chase this target. They are going for the target. Then Virat needs to fire as well as Rishabh Pant, and Pujara is someone who you can rely on anchoring the innings. But then one more thing I would like to add is that in some of the few dismissals today, especially the ball keeping too low, I think it will be very difficult on this trip. And especially if you are chasing close to 400 runs, 381, it will be very, very difficult. It will be an uphill task, even a lot more difficult than Gaba, I would say, on this wicket.
It's literally chalk and cheese. I mean, the Gaba wicket that started slightly green and almost at its best in the first innings. This wicket's become harder and harder. I mean, the first day, I think it was a very big toss to win, and England winning the toss was crucial. That was probably the best day to bat on that wicket. There was absolutely no moisture in it, but it is when wickets start with no moisture, then they deteriorate more rapidly. The Gaba wicket starts with a little bit of moisture in it, and therefore it's good for the seamers early on. As the game goes on, you could probably play 10 days on that Gaba wicket before it would deteriorate to the state that maybe 20 days before it deteriorate to the state of this wicket. So very hard to compare the two. The runs. I think also it's a very hard wicket to knock the ball around on. You'll find it's a wicket where you can play some big shots, but it's very hard to. So I think England have also got the option of setting in outfield. Might set some men back on the leg side boundary, and and just if India at any stage look like they're going to get that total, they'll put in outfield, and it's a really tough task to knock the ball around on that wicket. So I've sort of remained neutral in that, I'm not Norman in that I basically think India's going to win this 15-0, but I think just from a purely
15-0. Okay, 15. Is this a game of rugby league now?
Well, I'm just quoting. I just think it's a very, but that's the beauty of our game. I think India scores these runs and wins this game. It's a far, far, far bigger victory than the one in the Gabba, and if they win, it says a lot about this side. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it'll be a huge victory for them to win from here. That's my.
Look, like in all fairness, guys, I'm being realistic here. The total's almost insurmountable. There's no doubt about that. Again, if it were the Gabba, yes, it would be a lot more easier to get those runs. But I think it's a position where cleverly England have allowed India to have a small chance and bat accordingly and not shut up shop. That allows more wickets to fall. And I think that's probably going to be that balance between shutting up shop or actually trying to make a fist of it, and that could come unstuck. Very, very true. I think England have done excellently well the whole test. In particular, the first 3 days today, it was still pretty even keel, you would argue, because 178 wasn't a great total. And India did bat pretty close to the end of the first session. So was arguably a bit closer than that, but it's a fantastic match. I've been obviously impressed with Ashton's bowling today. Leach has certainly come back. His first innings was relatively ordinary, but his second innings seems to be a lot better without Punt being in there at the moment for sure. Aparna, your thoughts?
Certainly, I would agree with you, Norman. Team India has certainly fight back on today's play on day 4 by bowling out England for just 178 runs in the second innings. And as we said, the score, which is not very huge, considering that India has had covered that number of runs in Australia at Gabba when it didn't seem even close to possible. They had no business of pulling a win. I mean, we were just hoping for a draw at that time. And this time, Virat Kohli is there. They did that without Virat Kohli, without his captaincy, without him. A lot of players were injured. It's not that situation, luckily. So I think India should be able to cover those number of runs and possibly turn this first match in a win.
Debasis, while you're not talking to us, you might want to.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it will be an uphill task. I totally agree with Adam. It will be a very, very difficult task, especially on the 5th day, and to face the likes of Tom Bass and Jack Leach. Obviously, it will be an uphill task, and also you cannot count out the likes of Jofra Archer and Anderson. Anderson is a experienced bowler, we all know, and Jofra Archer, especially. If you can notice the 2 deliveries that Ishant, particularly the Ishant wicket of Lawrence, it kept very low. So this few deliveries are keeping low, staying low. So and England needs just 9 good balls, 9 good deliveries. So I will definitely put my money on England. As of now, after day 4, because odds are heavily in favor of England to win this test match. But India, even to go somewhere near that total or perhaps cross it, then Virat is going to play a very, very key role, and also Rishabh Pant, who we all know what he can do. And today he was awarded with the ICC Player of the Month. So what he has brought to this Indian batting is that fearlessness in the batting, because he has nothing to lose. He just go out and bats his own. So that will be very key. But the key will be to the first hour. If India lose quick wickets, then half of the match will be won by England.
That's true. Back to Chris.
I find it quite amusing, really, that people are talking about this total that India are going to walk it. It would break a world record. It's never ever been done. They'd have to score at nearly 4 and over on a poor wicket. It's hard to score on when England can set whatever fields they want. I think if they needed 250 to win, I still think England would be favourites, just because those scores aren't chased much in Test cricket. And people can say I'm biased, whatever, but history would suggest that it just doesn't happen very often. And I know that India chased down fantastically at the Gabba, but at the start of play that day, they were probably 1 in 5% chance of winning that test, I would say. And, realistically, I think if you said to Virat Kohli right now, you can take a draw in this test match, he would shake your hands and say, that's brilliant, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Okay, look, I'm not denying, Chris, it is an uphill battle. I actually don't agree with you that Virat Kohli would take a handshake, a draw. I don't think that would ever come out of his mouth, to be really honest. I think he would probably throw your hand to one side if that was the case. But perhaps the draw is going to be a bonus for India. I must look at the West Indies match. Just only a day or so ago, we had Kyle Mayers score 200. When I switched off that at one stage, I thought that Bangladesh had won that match, was going to win that match. And look what happened. They scored 390 odd against the Bangladeshi attack, granted, but a very weak West Indian team. So things can happen. But the likelihood is that England should win this. And if England are serious about winning this series, they need to make sure they ram it home and actually clinch this without a doubt. It'll be important for England to actually now finish it off. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And you've got to remember that a lot of these, I know they chased down a really great score. I know Sharma didn't play in that test. Obviously, he's out now. Kohli hasn't played a lot of cricket. I know he's a great player, but these guys probably haven't been playing in many test matches at home where they have to battle to save a draw in the last day, and it's going to be tough for them. And if they win and chase it, then I think England will be gutted, and I think it will come down to England bowling poorly as opposed to India batting well, because, as I said, they might. I think 1 in 20 India might win. I give them probably a 5% chance of winning this test. I think England probably win half the times, and the draw is probably the rest. So, history would suggest that this is going to be history suggests that England will win this test, and I think England will probably win it by T, is my prediction for tomorrow.
Well, talking about history, 32 years of record was just broken this year. So let's not forget that. Keeping that in mind, anything is possible.
Yeah, but Australia had lost tests at the Gabba before, and this in 140 years of test cricket. This has never been changed.
I'm being an Indian, I would like to say that last time India lost a test match was against England. Lost a series at home was against England. So history does favor England as well. So let's give a finger. But
we've got New India.
This is a lot harder. This is a more unlikely chase for India to win this by miles than them to chase and win at the Gabba. This is a much harder chase for India by miles.
All right, just quickly, looking at digress from the Gabba. We're probably talking too much about the Gabba because you're right. There's an element of a separation from that. What do you think of Rohit Sharma's opening batting future? Debashes.
I don't think there's any semblance of a doubt as to Rohit Sharma will continue opening the batting for India, at least in this series. That's for sure. And he will be opening the batting for quite some time now. One failure in one test match doesn't count. And the fact that it's after a long time that India got a settled opening pair, I think, with Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma, both stroke players. I think it augurs well for the Indian team in the in the future. Obviously, some huge series coming up against England in England, wherein they will play 5 test matches. And considering if they do well in this test series, they can make it to the World Test Championship final. So I don't think any doubt that Rohit Sharma will continue to open for India in the near future.
Okay. I'm just being typically Australian because once an opener fails in a test match, we tend to want to turf them, a la Joe Burns or a few others. We've had a few moments where we've certainly been hard on openers, and by no means am I saying Rohit Sharma's not good enough, but we tend to become very critical if they don't produce, because I still maintain the most important batting position in the team are the openers. I think the openers have to be the actual setters of the match. In England's case, it certainly did that very well. Rory Burns did it as well. So maybe not the second innings, but they still do. All right, Adam.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on, the context of the series at this stage? England have done very, very well. I would argue that's a good position for the whole 4 tests, but I think, is it still mean that India will win the series in your thoughts? Debashes, can you put the mic off, Debashes?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Sorry, Adam. With your situation,
I couldn't see Debash's background.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So the fact is, Adam, I just wanted to, in the context of the series, we probably talked a bit earlier on that India are expected to win the series. Now, after what you've seen with England in the first 4 days now, is that situation looking quite different? Or was it too early?
I mean, listen, definitely India started the series as favourites, and as we sit here now, they're probably still favourites. In this test match, I think it's a very tough ask. I think one thing that we probably have all overlooked, well, no one's mentioned rather than overlooked, is that the reason England got bowled out for 170 was they were attempting to score quick runs, which suggests that it was a very hard wicket to push the pace on. So if India's got ideas on winning this test, I think that gives an indication that it may be okay to survive on the wicket, but to try and push the scoring along is tough. So I think that that wasn't a fair indication of probably what score England would have got if it had just been and they hadn't been pushing to set a total. That said, if India can win this, a draw is almost like a victory from here. They will come out if they can get a draw, because losing, let's face it, losing the toss was crucial. It's a big toss to win. That wicket was beautiful to bat on the first day, and England, albeit they played well, you'd think that they would encounter more difficult surfaces throughout the remaining 3 tests. So the luck or the fortune has probably gone England's way in this test match so far. Over the period of a 4-match series, you'd think that would even up. But I think if England could get a 1-0 win, then we've got a really interesting series, because you'd say that India would probably be, you'd expect them to win the rest of the series, but to come from 1-0 down with 3 games to play, it's also very hard. So almost the best thing for the series would be for England to win. That would really bring this series to light, because I feel that India probably will, as this series goes on, will perform better than this. And I think as a spectator, as an England fan, of course, I want England to win. As an Indian fan, they want India to win. But as a sort of, if you were just a person just watching it for entertainment, almost the best thing would be for England to win this test match, because I think, like I said before, if they got a draw, that will demoralise England, because they've played really probably as well as they can play in this test match. India probably hasn't quite played as well as they can play. If it came out with a draw, that'll be quite demoralising England, I think, and India will go into that next series, the next game, feeling that they've got away with it. So that's how I see it.
Well, that's an excellent summary, and I totally see that as really the case. Can I add, though, it's England should win this. They should really, as what Chris said, they should be able to get through this and get this done by sometime around tea or beyond. They need to win this now. They've put themselves in such a good position. It could be very, very draining if they actually end up stumbling through with a draw or anything like that. It could be not a good result for England's state of mind. The fact is, we've got the test coming up in 3 days on virtually the same pitch, which I'm only assuming it'll be next to it, and it would probably be a raging turner anyway, more than the first test wicket has been. So it probably will only suit India even more. So you're right, Adam. I think that for the sake of the series, it'd be good to see England win, and it would certainly make it very important then for India to come back and win a number of the last. In fact, they almost have to win the next 3, because they can't afford a 2-all result. They won't get them into the World Test Championship, World of Tabashas.
Absolutely, Norman, because they cannot. I mean, obviously, India definitely not the favorites to win the series, but I totally agree with Chris and Adam. And I think on these conditions, I think England definitely are the favorites to win this test match. It will be a very, very stiff task, obviously, to face the likes of Dom Bess and Jack Leach on that 50th wicket. And I think the key for India is to bat session by session. Means they should forget what the target is. Obviously, as you might hear, I was just listening to Kyle Mayer's press conference yesterday after that epic knock. All he was saying was he was only concentrating on playing sessions, batting deep, batting for long hours, because partnership will be the key. If India are to make this total achievable, the partnership will be key. And for that to happen, I think Pujara has a very, very big role to play here, because he is someone who anchors the entire Indian innings. So I think the stroke players, there are a lot of stroke players in this Indian batting, especially with the likes of Shubman Gill, who is still batting. Then you have Virat Kohli, Rahane, then Rishabh Pant, and Ravichandran Ashwin can also throw his bat. So I think they need to bat sessions. They need to strike a partnership if they are hoping to make this chase target.
All right, thanks, Tabash. It's just if you wouldn't mind putting yourself on mute while you're not talking. Okay. Aparna, your thoughts?
Yeah. Honestly, I would say this match was looking a one-side affair before Rishabh Pant smashed 91 runs and Sundar held the score go past 300. But even then, he couldn't prevent to take the lead below 200, the minimum requirement to avoid follow-on, which was. But in a surprising turn of events, England refused, even to follow on, even after getting a 241-run lead. Even then, England have extended their advantage incredibly with every day of this test match, must admit. And now they are right on the top. They've played beautifully last 4 days, needing 9 wickets tomorrow to go one up, which is very likely. There's no doubt about that. There is turn and a little bit of uneven bounce to be from the pitch. But it's not a minefield yet, and so India won't be daunted by a task ahead of them tomorrow, as difficult as it is. So you would think they have a decent chance of saving this if they bat well and the pitch doesn't break too much more. But getting 381 runs again on the final day, that seems very unlikely. But we are in the era of unlikely cases, as you know. So there's always a chance.
It certainly is always a hope. You can still say that at this stage. Okay, what about in terms of injuries? Have we heard any injuries? Have all the players been faring well? It seems rather quiet on the injury front, which I'm always happy about because there were so many injuries in the Australian-India series, especially from India. But there seems to be fairly, other than perhaps a bit of tiredness, there's no outward injuries being shown, is there? Guys, Sebastian, have you heard anything?
Yeah, Norman, can you come through again?
I was just saying, in terms of any injuries, that there are no injuries.
No, not that I know, not that one. But I as we did discuss in the morning's podcast, that Mohammad Shami is getting fit, so I think he definitely is in the running to make himself available for the third test, which is definitely a very, very good sign for India, because India has done well both home and away, and a lot of credit should go to Mohammad Shami and Jasprit Bumrah, because they have been the real they play a pivotal role in helping India to achieve the wins both home and away. And also, I think Hardik Pandya, you cannot count out Hardik Pandya as well, as we discussed this, because Hardik Pandya is one batsman. I think he brings that lot of things with him, be it his batting or bowling. And so I think these two players, if they get themselves fit and make themselves available, that augurs very well for the Indian team.
Good points. Okay, so that was a concern to me, because obviously the next test is only 2 or 3 days away post this test. The England bowlers are going to be certainly able to handle it. They're bowled, even though they've got a day to play, they're bowled quite lightly in the test. Archer looks like he's as strong as anything, and Anderson is as well. So obviously Broad may come into that second test, but I think England are going to be in slightly better shape in terms of physically when they come into the next match. And luckily for India, they didn't bowl too long today, so they might survive as well in terms of fitness, which is very important with back-to-back tests. What's your thoughts on the pitch? Also, Adam, you've had a bit to do with Chennai at certain stages, have you?
Mike, Adam. Your mic's off. That's better.
Adam, did you hear that?
It's gone off again.
Oh, gone off again.
Your mic, Adam.
Mike.
You're muted.
Keep going off.
That's better.
I was saying, like, I heard the question, but I just didn't have the technology under control, Norman. The one thing which I noticed about the pitch is that whatever it's doing it very slowly. So we can get uneven bounce in Australia. If you get uneven bounce, or in England, it tends to do it quite quickly. So therefore, it can be dangerous as far as losing wickets concerned. But I noticed that the pitch is a little bit up and down, a little bit uneven, but it's doing it quite slowly. So therefore, whilst that's, if India do decide to play for a draw, then I think that's possible, because it's not. But I think if they attempt to try and get the total, then it's going to be tough, because as we saw today with England trying to push on, and I think they still only got up to 4 or 5 and over or something like that. They were losing wickets in the attempt to try and get that run rate up. And then in the first innings, even when the wicket was at its best, England scored painfully slowly. I'm not sure what the run rate was, 2.2 runs per over or something like that in the first innings. It was very, very hard work. So whilst the pitch is uneven and not playing like it did in the first innings, it's doing it very slowly. So they're keeping your wicket intact, trying to concentrate on survival, but the problems come when you're chasing a run.
Tobias, please put your mic off, or you hear the noise behind you. Okay.
I think Adam's right. I think that for England, you know, the only reason that England got bowled out cheaply is because we were trying to force the issue and set up a test. And I seen a few comments from people saying about enforcing the follow-on. I can guarantee you now that Joe Root and the coaching setup had 0% interest in enforcing that follow-on at all. I don't think it would have crossed their mind at all to enforce it when we bowled them out before lunch. We wanted to take the chance of India winning out pretty much, and we've done that. If we enforce the follow-on and they get 350 and all of a sudden we've got to bat for a session and a half needing 100 or something, I think it's disaster for England's bat last. So I don't think it was negative. If I'm honest, I think England have played the perfect game to now. I don't think realistically at the toss, if you'd said to Joe Root, India will need 400 on the last day with 9 wickets left, you know, he would say, well, that's probably as perfect a result as England could have hoped for. And it's, you know, what point in the series, say England do win tomorrow, at what point do India, and, you know, I think there's probably the same as what the Australians had when India toured them. There's probably a bit of complacency. A lot in the press and the pundits sort of wrote them off. At what point do the Indian public and the Indian press start actually potentially looking at England as a threat in this series and not just a walkover, which I'm pretty sure is what they thought England would be at the start of the series for sure.
I've been very impressed with England's tenacity, actually. I think they've, as you said, they're grinding India into the ground by the way they've approached the test. They could have done many different things, followed on or not followed on, but the fact is they've got a certain amount of tenacity there that I'm very impressed. The fielding has been generally sensational. The catches they've taken have been quite phenomenal, really, and more so in the first innings. The second innings, we'll wait and see, but I think it's an excellent. I think the catch that Stokes took at first slip was a magnificent one today, wasn't it? It was a brilliant catch. Really, that was not a catch to take, and I think that's just. Adam, I don't know what your experience was with England, but their fielding has certainly improved out of sight, hasn't it?
I think, I mean, fielding around the world's improved out of sight, but I think the main thing which I notice these days, I finished my career back in, 2006, 2007. And the one thing I notice now being back in coaching is the athleticism of all of these international athletes now. There's not a bad athlete amongst them. So, and going back to the point you said about, you know, in the past, I think we've got to pay credit to Ed Smith and the selection panel and the management of the England cricket team, because in the past, England has been guilty of just picking their best side on paper and then just taking them to the destination. They've actually planned, having the Sri Lankan tour before this helped. They've taken their best players of spin. They've picked a side to suit what you'd expect Indian conditions to be, which is something that England has got wrong in the past. So it's a fascinating situation tactically, because you've got, on the Indian side, you've got someone with the experience, and Ravi Shastri has just come out here to Australia, and with all his experience, and he's strategically broken down the Australians, and along with obviously, the management of the Indian side and some very experienced senior players have tactically broken down the game and come away with a win. So you're probably seeing here two of the best strategic sides in the world go head to head. I'm not suggesting the best side in the world, but they're taking into consideration the conditions very well and playing accordingly. And I think that's the best they can do at the moment.
No, that's very, very relevant. Aparna, from your perspective, what do you think of the selection of the Indian side? What changes do you see? Any changes that would be made for the next test, or is there? I mean, Nadeem did bowl better today, I must say.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of talks about Umesh Yadav being dropped for I think Nadeem, and as soon as India doesn't perform, there's always a selection problem. And the selection talk starts happening. I think I can see some comments as well why India is so impatient. That's so true. Youngsters should be given a chance, and everyone should be given a consistent chance. There is no selection mistake, I wouldn't say. Obviously, England won the toss, and the pitch was favorable for batting. So, yeah, Indian batting lineup was not even good in Australia. It started to shake up in every first innings. But yet again, everyone has the bad day. It's just not, we can't just pinpoint at selection mistakes or, well, who should we drop for the next test match. That's what I think. That's my call.
But it is interesting because Washington Sundar, you wouldn't drop him, would you, after his batting performance today? Was
not really. No, he's done good in Australia. So why?
Chris, what did you think of Washington Sundar?
Oh, he looks the part, doesn't he? I mean, I think you can get carried away quickly with people. I mean, he's played two or three tests, and he looked very good. I think the problem India have is that they see him as a bowler. They need a bowling all-rounder in there. They don't need a batter in the top six. I think the only way you can play Sundar as a batter is if you maybe drop Rahane, because he's a waste in batting at 7 or 8, because you've got Pant bats at 7 or 6. And I think if you pick Sundar as a batter, you've got to drop one of your top 5 to accommodate, and it exposes the tail. And yeah, I think first and foremost they've got a problem because I don't think his bowling is. He bowled 1 over today, and England were going for it. If Kohli really thought that Sundar was going to play a big part in the series, would you not bowl him 15 overs and try and take 4 for 30 if England were going for it, which they were, just to try and build him some confidence up. So it'd be interesting to see what India do with their team, because 3-day turnaround after they've done nearly 300 overs in the field in that heat is heavy legs. If England win that toss in the second test, there could be some very tired, fatigued Indian bodies out there. And I don't know what they'll do. I don't think that you can expect Bumrah to play all 4 tests. His fitness recently has been an issue. He got injured in Australia, and it's a lot to expect your premier fast bowler to play 4 tests in a row in that heat. And Sharma's the same, has had injury records. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they manage their seam attack going forward, if that makes sense.
Debashis, you had your hand up.
Is what I was saying that I think Ravindra Jadeja, the absence of Ravindra Jadeja has been huge, because he is someone that brings a wealth of experience. If you can notice, in last 2 years, wherever India has played, I think Ravindra Jadeja has been a very, very important factor. Means both with the bat as well as the ball and on the field. Means he can just pluck out of the thin air. He can pull some great catches and just change the complexion of a match all of a sudden, which we have seen in Australia. So I think the injury to Ravindra Jadeja has been a big blow for India. Talking about the balance of the side, and obviously, if you ask me who do you think would be the one change, I would definitely pick Kuldeep Yadav in the next test, because Chennai turning track, I would definitely want to see Kuldeep Yadav getting ahead of Shahbaz Nadeem. And I'm not blaming him, but then you have someone of the experience of Kuldeep Yadav who we have not played in last few months. Maybe it's worth a try to go. When you drop someone, you get the best out of him. He has something to prove. So I think India selectors would do good to pick Kuldeep Yadav in place of Shahbaz Nadeem.
I agree. I think he can be. The word X factor is overused, but I'm frustrated not having seen Kohli. Regardless of which way he turns the ball, regardless of whether they're left-handed or right-handed batters, he still has that ability to take wickets. We talked about Bess having that ability earlier. Chris today about him having a chance of taking wickets, which he's done pretty well in this test. I think Kuldeep's the same.
No, I think the problem they've got is that they know Kuldeep will leak runs. You know, he's an attacking wrist spinner, and wrist spinners historically go for runs. You know, I don't think even Shane Warne, you know, the best spinner ever, he did bowl bad balls, and I think that's the problem they've had in this test with Sundar and Nadeem Shabazz, is that they're not tying an end down, and ultimately that's what Jadeja always brought to that side, was that he could tie an end up all day and go at 2 and over, whereas that's why England are in the position they are, is because they had a game plan against the 2 spinners, and they played Ashwin out. I know Ashwin's match figures will probably what's the right word? They'll probably compliment him, because I don't think he's bowled well enough to take 9 wickets in the test. I mean, I'm not taking it away from him because it's brilliant, but you know, he took 6 for when England were trying to set a game up, and I think the problem is how do they balance that side? Because I do think that they want to get a third seamer in, because I don't see them producing a raging Turner. I think that would be a really bad idea, because you know, everyone who's played cricket will know that if you've got the best side should play on the best cricket wicket, because their quality will shine through. If you produce a really bad wicket, it levels the playing field massively. And we've proved in this test that Leach and Bess can take wickets. And if you produce a poor spinning wicket and lose the toss, then that's a big problem for India. So they're going to have to produce a good cricket wicket and hope that they can out cricket England, not just try and get lucky with the pitch deteriorating.
I would say history suggests that in Chennai, Adam can tell more about it. History suggests that Chennai doesn't produce good fast bouncy tracks. With the red soil, it has predominantly helped spin bowlers. You get more turn and spin, especially in grounds like Chennai, compared to grounds like, obviously there has been a seesaw changes across India. I'm talking about the grounds. You talk about Calcutta, it's no more the slow turning track that you used to get, but the condition, as you can notice in the IPL as well, the wickets here in Eden Gardens is a lot more bouncy and fast. So, and also you in grounds like Mohali and Wankhede, Mumbai, you have more bounce and carry. But I'm a little doubt that the Chennai wicket will have much offer for the fast bowlers, especially with the red soil and the history.
It's an amazing looking pitch from when I see it. I look at it now. Had aerial shots over it. It's the most intriguing looking pitch. It's one I would have loved to have played on. With my little wobblers, it would have been a fantastic little wicket for me. I would have probably taken a 5-er. You never know.
And Adam's little wobblers as well.
Yeah, Adam had some wobblers, didn't you? Were you a wobbler bowler? Was that the way you described your bowling?
I describe myself as not very good as a bowler. I think I would rather play on. There was a pitch we played on in the West Indies, which because the bench got abandoned, it was so bad. That was the sort of wicket I needed to bowl on to get wickets.
No, but come on, Adam. Don't undersell yourself. You had one of the best slow balls in your time.
Content when we're talking about your bowling on a show. That's we've got some of the best cricketers in the world out there. Virat Kohli, one of the greatest batsmen of all time. We've got James Anderson, like one of the leading fast bowling wicket taker of all time. And somehow or other, your little wobblers, you managed to get them onto your podcast. It's like it's actually
Look, Adam, I know you're jealous. I get it. I get it. I understand your jealousy. Jealousy is a curse, Adam. It's terrible, isn't it? When it overwhelms like that. All right. I digress. Yes, I did digress. All right, Chris. You've been spot on all series. What's your thoughts on tomorrow?
I think England will win it by before tea. Yeah, I could be. You know, I just see that if we were to reel off every Test match in history where a similar situations occurred, I'm just going purely off stats and history, and the stats are massively stacked that England should win this and probably win it fairly comfortably. I think that if India can draw it, I think it's as good as a win. And I know that you said that Virat Kohli would on the face of it wouldn't take a draw right now, but I guarantee you they would be over the moon of a draw, and he would happily not take the field tomorrow if they could draw the Test match right now, because it keeps the series 0-0 and it keeps them massive favourites. But yeah, if England bowl well, the problem is, as Adam said, it's a slow wicket. If the wicket had a bit of pace in it, like the Gabby, at least you can play some shots. You can come down the wicket. England are going to attack, but they're also going to look to use Anderson and Archer to contain as well. And I think England will want India to come out in the morning and try and win the game. I think that will suit them. I think they'll want them to come and attack. I don't. If India shut up shop all day and look to block it, that England won't want that. England will want them to come out and be positive. The key tomorrow, and people are raving about Rishabh Pant, and Pujara is the key, without a doubt. If India are going to get any positive out of this game, Pujara has to be there till tea, I think, if they need to save it. Pant, from what I've seen, he's good in certain situations. If you're looking to chase, fine. If you're looking to defend or to see out a game, I don't think he's going to have the technique to do it. I think he only knows one way, which is fine, and that's not a bad thing. But for them to save this test, it's probably going to come down to Rahane, Kohli, and Pujara in that middle order. One of them has to get 100 if they want to save the game, I think.
I think we're in a situation, Norman, where if Chris gets any more predictions right, we're in a serious we could get done for match for having inside information. He's been so accurate with his predictions that they might start thinking that we're involved in some match fixing and we've got some stuff going with it. It's
I was off today. I thought we'd have 3 wickets today. I was off. I was wrong.
I'm actually taking notes down here, and I'm off to the bookmaker after I'm listening to what Chris says, and then I'm going to go and put some money on it.
Well, there are plenty of bookmakers on the Gold Coast, that's for sure. I haven't got very far to go there, Adam. You're pretty close.
The problem is I don't think you'd get great money on England winning the test, so probably not the best.
Well, I wasn't going to comment on Chris's room, but it does look more like a prison cell rather than a luxurious Kent home.
I can open the curtains, but you won't be able to see me. As I said, it's bright white outside, so it's the glare.
Actually, can you show us your snow? Is it visible from the window, or we're not able to see?
Well, I'm upstairs, so you wouldn't be able to see it. I'd have to take my computer with me, but I'll take a picture and attach it if I can.
Yeah, I think you should. All right, guys. I think we're going to go around the group now. Get final wrap-ups of where the test is at. Each person has their bit to say. Aparna, please, your final say.
Well, Norman, I would say, as difficult as it is, you would still think they have a decent chance of saving it if they bat well, right? It is quite simple. What you must do as a bowling team in the first few days on the pitches, they've done that. And on the balance of it, India has relatively on the first day 292, on the second, 263, and on the second 292. And then we've got still Rishabh Pant, Virat Kohli. From my point of view, I know it is difficult, but it's not very unlikely that it might not happen that they can. But a draw would be something that, satisfy all Indian fans out there. But yeah, a win would be great. And we're expecting another great performance like we've just saw recently in the greatest win series. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Tabashas.
Yeah, I would put my money on England. It's as simple as that. Obviously, England has been the better team in this Test match till stumps on day 4. So, and obviously, when you are chasing 381 on day 5 on a turning track against the likes of 2 quality spinners, I think it will be really an uphill task. And the balls are keeping low, and so I would definitely put my money on England, and I would also suggest that they might very well to win the Test match by tea, definitely.
Adam, have you got them winning by the first drink break or something?
By the first break, no, mate. Sorry. No, I'm just going to go along with Chris. My prediction is that England win the Test match. Exactly what Chris said, and Chris ends up in jail by the second Test per match. I think that's how it goes. We've got the view there with the snow in the background. I think by the time the second Test comes up, steel bars. I think that's what.
That's going to be our next thumbnail there, Chris.
The good thing it'll be you're allowed one phone call out of jail, I believe. So
it'll be to my bookie to tell him what to do with the second test.
Very good, Chris.
I'll tell you what. I mean,
can I have the number? Your bookie's number. I'll coordinate with them.
If I had foresight, I could tell a partner that England were going to win and she'd still back India. You know, so it doesn't matter. I could tell her whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
No, but that's my little side savings. But more likely, though, I should not say this. But no, I'll coordinate. I'll take 10%.
I should have won a lot of money because I was back at the first test of the Australia-India series saying India was going to win, and I was getting brushed off by people. So anyway,
Norman, you should be kicked off the show, mate. You said it was going to be 5-0 in a 4-match series at the beginning. Don't be trying to now claim something that happened 2 weeks ago, mate. You're about to get removed as the presenter.
Well, actually, this show is in collaboration with Cricket Conversation with the partner. So you should just come on that one.
Oh.
We'll get rid of Norman.
We actually have a collaboration.
A breakaway
series. Extra time, so Debashes,
who doesn't want a host like me? Who want Norman? Norman, you're very gorgeous, but come on, there's no competition here, all right?
I'll do a poll. I'll do a poll on my site, and I'll have some computer experts rig it for me. Okay. Debashes, now, just the exciting news is that we're going to be getting the ability on Debashes Extra Time service with some 729,000 subscribers to be able to have the platform simultaneously with mine and a partner. So that's going to be excellent for next time. I want to know, Adam, if you've got a YouTube channel, we want to know about that because we want to have that linked in as well. We want to share the experience. I've just set up Jeff Thompson's YouTube channel. He'll be on tomorrow. He would have been here today, so Jeff will be on.
Unfortunately.
Dougie. Sorry?
I said I don't have a YouTube. As you probably noticed, I struggled to even get it off mute here. So the chances of me having a YouTube channel are zero, mate. I'm technologically a number 11. Let's put it that way. I'm a number 11 who doesn't bowl technologically.
All right, Debashes. I think can you hear us, Debashes? He's busily doing
I can, Norman. Yeah, I can, Norman.
Okay.
I was just forwarding the press conference links. Ravi Chandran Ashwin and John Lewis did the press conference today, so I was just forwarding it to get it edited. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. What I'm asking you is your thoughts for tomorrow, and we'll finish on that. And we're going to see this day 5 summary on your platform tomorrow.
Definitely, we will definitely we would love to, and we are working on it, and hopefully it will be sorted out, and we can actually stream this discussion simultaneously on your YouTube channel and as well as on our YouTube channel.
Great. All right, guys. We might call it quits there. The Masters score, do you think it'll be over by 2?
As I said, it will be England winning by T, definitely.
Okay.
England winning by T.
Chris saying by T, Debashes saying by T, Adam's saying by T. A partner says India will be fighting all the way to the end, and I'm pretty much thinking it'll still go into the last session tomorrow, but it may well be an England victory. All right, guys, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful. Adam, we're grateful for you to be awake. You were concerned about your sleeping habits, but that's right. Because you're such a physically in tune person. You're in bed by 9. Is that right, Norman? Luckily, we can't hear Adam's response, which is very good. I think there were a few swear words there or something.
No. I said it's 11:15, mate. It's not quite 9 o'clock, but it's about as good as your prediction of the series so far, mate. Your knowledge of the Gold Coast time zone is about as good as your prediction of India winning this series 6-0 in a 4-match series.
What a pity! I think there was a bit of crackling, and I couldn't hear a word.
I think
you said I look good with my head.
I think Norman, we should get Adam and do a banter together, man. This is going to be great. It's hilarious. Good job.
Thanks a lot, Adam. I really appreciate having you on today. It's been wonderful.
No worries.
No worries, guys. Thanks heaps. It's been
Thank you.
fantastic as always. Great discussion. Thanks, Chris, Sebastian, Zapana. Adam, we'll see you guys tomorrow on a double to triple platform. All right?
Thank you, Norman.
Take care. Thank you very much for your commentary, guys, as well. All the best. Talk
Cheers,
soon.
guys. Have a good one.